Hello.
No, I'm
Test.
not going.
Okay.
Well, obviously you're not going because you're.
All right. It is November 18th, 2021. It's 3:30 p.m. I'm going to call the meeting to order. Could I get a roll call, please?
Mayor Carlson.
Here.
Dr. Mahoney.
Here.
Mayor Dardis.
Here.
Mr. Peterson. Mr. Hendrickson.
Present.
Mr. Pepcorn. Mr. Ebinger.
Here.
Mr. Strand.
Present.
Mr. Campbell.
Here.
Mrs. Shirley.
I'm here.
Mr. Steen.
Here.
Mr. Olson. Mr. Seljevold. Quorum is present.
All right. Thank you very much, Don. Moving on to number 2. Could I get a motion
Move to approve.
All right.
Second.
Somebody is really wanting to get done early. So I have a motion and a second. Any other discussion or comments? Hearing none, this is a voice call. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed? All right, moving on to approval of the order of the agenda.
Move to approve. Second.
A motion and a second. Any questions or comments? Hearing none, this is also voice call. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Same sign. All right, and
Move to approve the consent agenda.
all right, and okay, and that would be for the finance
Consent
report
agenda.
voucher approval,
A through D.
A through D. All right. So I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Okay, this is a roll call vote, so I'd get a roll call, please, Don.
Mayor Carlson.
Yes.
Dr. Mahoney.
Aye.
Mayor Dardis.
Yes.
Mr. Hendrickson.
Aye.
Mr. Ebinger.
Aye.
Mr. Strand.
Yes.
Mr. Campbell.
Yes.
Mrs. Shirley.
Yes.
Mr. Steen.
Yes.
That is everyone.
Okay, thank you very much. All right, on to our regular agenda, and number 4 is the Executive Director report, and I will turn that over to you, Mr. Paulson.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the board. So we had a busy month, of course, once again. So just wanted to talk about a few of our highlights. I did meet with the Red River Valley Alliance and the FM Chamber about a week ago now. The topic was how to integrate the Red River Valley Alliance into the community. And so the Chamber has put together kind of a concierge package that they're willing to provide as a service to the Red River Valley Alliance. They were very interested in that, and so some of that is in relation to folks that might be moving here that are a part of the Red River Valley Alliance team, looking at programs or helping trailing spouses find jobs within the community as well. So a lot of great brainstorming happening there, and I just wanted to give a special appreciation to the Chamber for being so willing to continue to engage and be so helpful in helping the Red River Valley Alliance kind of land here in Fargo and get their bearings relatively quickly. And then internally, I guess more technically related, we continue to coordinate with the Red River Valley Alliance on a weekly and kind of a daily basis here as far as schedule permitting and quality plans, and those all are moving along as scheduled. We are anticipating a partnering session with the RRVA the last week or first week in December, last kind of partial week in November. That'll be an opportunity for us to really get to meet all their team members face to face. They'll be able to meet our team members face to face and get to know each other and start talking about just that long-term working relationship that we're going to be having. So we're looking forward to that. Other pretty big updates here on the federal funding side, and this kind of follows up from our work that we had in Washington, D.C. The president signed the infrastructure bill into law on Monday, which provides about $560 billion directly for infrastructure. The Corps did indicate that OMB had asked for their requests by Friday of this week. So things are moving relatively quickly. So as that request gets made and our $180 million ask, it would be included in there. We hope that we hear good news relatively quick. But given the magnitude and the size of the infrastructure funding that's contained within that bill, we have a really good chance of getting a fulfilled ask of $180 million for the Corps portion. So we continue to monitor that, and we've pretty much done everything we can do as far as just kind of aligning OMB and the ASA's office and the Corps together. So it's kind of wait and see at this moment. So another big news for the authority here is we hired our lands director. Jody Smith started on November 1st. She is right there. I've been really getting involved in everything's lands related. She was on the MCC JPA and the Cass County Joint calls today. And so it's kind of getting her footing under her. There are lots of things to take in, but she's already adding some value in certain areas, I can tell you that. Additional ongoing coordination that we have right now, again, still utility, township, and municipality MOUs. You'll see in the consent agenda, obviously, in your packet, there were quite a few of those that came through this month. A couple big ones. Continue to meet on the settlement agreement commitments with key folks such as the cemeteries and the neighboring communities where we have commitments. And then we've obtained some permits and from local townships, one of which was the permit for the Red River Control Structure from Pleasant Township, and the permit for what's the Stanley? Drain 27 is the Stanley Township. So those were a long time in the making, but we were able to acquire those this past month, and so congratulations to Chris Bockyguard and his team that helped to facilitate those. So with that, I'll just open it up if any board members have any questions about any ongoing things that are going on. So.
Thank you, Mr. Paulson, and I also want to extend my thank you to Shannon Full and the Chamber for doing that work and coordinating it with Red River Valley Alliance, and welcome to Jody, too. Any questions from board members? All right, seeing none, we will move on to number 5, General Counsel updates. Mr. Shockley.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the board. I just 2 very brief updates. The first is the Adaptive Management and Mitigation Plan. For the last 6 to 7 months, we've been working closely with Minnesota DNR and the Corps of Engineers and the other regulatory agencies to get the plan finalized. It's in its final form right now, and we're awaiting final approval from Minnesota DNR. Just a little bit of background, that's the plan that it is monitoring the environmental impacts of the project, both during construction and after construction. And if there are changes to the environment from the project, then the plan has a process where you propose changes to project elements that would solve those environmental issues. We haven't identified any issues that would need to be solved, but it's a plan that was required to be put in place. Happy to answer any of those questions offline. It's a very detailed and sometimes not a very exciting subject. So if you're interested, I can certainly sit down with you and talk to you. The second item is that we've been working closely with North Dakota Public Finance Authority. You'll recall that the legislature passed the bonding bill this last spring with the $435 million for the authority. We're working on scheduling with them the dates and times that they're going to be distributing funds to the Diversion Authority, and that syncs up with our financial plan. One important takeaway for that is, as part of that, it doesn't appear there's any cost share agreement. So you'll recall in previous funds from the state cost share agreement required the city of Fargo and Cass County Joint to approve all the expenditures. That likely won't occur in the future. And instead, it'll just be one set of fungible funds that go directly to the authority. So that's all I had for updates.
Thank you, Mr. Shockley. And I believe that Mayor Mahoney had mentioned to me offline that he would really like to go through the 281 pages of the mitigation paperwork. So
Sure. Happy to do that.
Yeah. Any questions from any of the board members? All right, moving on to Army Corps project update. Ms. Williams, are you online?
Oh, good afternoon, Madam Chair and board members. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can.
Great. This is the monthly update for November. I'm going to go over 1 and 2, kind of the same. Diversion Inlet and Wild Rice River structure. The contractor is kind of completing the vertical concrete construction, some big concrete placements that are happening. Very important ones are where the gates will be anchored into the piers. And so those are being, we're bringing in our design experts to do inspections of all the reinforcement there to make sure that those anchorages are perfect. The gates at both sites are due to come in now in March. That's a little bit of a delay. There's been some delay in the manufacturing of those gates, but overall both structures remain on schedule to be complete. On to number 3, I-29 Rays. All 4 lanes of the bypass as of October 27th were open, and completion of the raise of the main line is scheduled for summer of 2023. The required completion date remains the same, January of 24. Number 4, Reach SE1. The contractor is preparing to shut down for the winter if they haven't already. They'll have a little bit of work to do in the spring. There's a little more placement of embankment material and topsoil and seeding, and that's basically all that's left of Reach SE1. Number 5, the Red River structure. We did advertise that as reported last month on 12 October. We did delay the receipt of proposals date 3 weeks. So that date now is 14 December, and we gave 3 weeks additional time to better understand what kind of funding that we're going to get in FY22 and the timing of that. Even though we extended it for 3 weeks, we still anticipate, if that holds, we can still award it by the end of March. We're just using up some of our float in the schedule. On to number 6, Reach SC1B. Under design, the 95% review will start in March on that piece, and that's the piece between SE1 and essentially the diversion inlet structure. Number 7, Reach SE2A. The final plans and specs are now scheduled to be signed off about the end of November, maybe the first week in December. SE2A, if it's funded in FY22, we will award a contract for that piece. SE2B, the design is currently on hold. We've got some design issues that we're resolving that kind of impact the entire project. So they're very important decisions to make, and we're taking the time to do that. Number 8, Drain 27, nothing new. That's on the shelf, ready to advertise that once we get funds in fiscal year 22. And that's the same situation with Drayton Dam. That's the end of my update, unless there's any questions.
Thank you, Ms. Williams. Any questions? I actually have one. I was wondering, when is the final design of the southern embankment, all of that going to be done? Did I miss that?
So we're designing pieces. Right now, we're only detailed design through SE2B. We're doing preliminary design of SE4 and 5. We'll start detailed design of those 2 pieces in February of 22. And then SE3 will start design after that, because we have to wait to build SE3 until the diversion channel is operational and more functional. So we'll have everything designed by 2024, essentially. Over.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Williams.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? All right, thank you very much. So moving on to the public outreach update, is Roger or Jennifer available? Or Mr. Paulson, do you have an update?
I'm available. We did not have a public outreach meeting yesterday, but I can just say that everything is moving along really well. We just had such a short month this time, and we're looking at finalizing meeting our deadline for the crisis and communications plans with the P3, which is coming up any day now.
Okay, thank you. Any questions of Jennifer? Okay, moving on to land management updates, and I will turn it over to Commissioner Sherling.
Thank you. Lands met yesterday. We did not take any action, but we were introduced to our new lands director. Welcome, Jody. And we were again updated on progress. Of course, things are moving along at a brisk pace in some instances, and in some instances, not so brisk. But we continue to work on acquiring property for Drain 27 Wetland Restoration Project, the Southern Embankment Reach 2A, SE 2A, the upstream structures and structure sites, the Drayton Dam Replacement Project, and we continue to procure environmental monitoring easements. We've acquired property interests in nearly 700 parcels, including those acquired via last resort eminent domain, and including split parcels. And many of those last resort eminent domain cases came before the Cass County Commission within the last month. And so those are proceeding along through the court system. We've completed acquisitions for Diversion Channel SE1, the I-29 roadways, the Wild Rice River Control Structure, the Diversion Inlet Structure, and the Red River Control Structure. We have now completed all those acquisitions. We continue to do appraisal work being completed for the upstream structures, which includes farmsteads and rural residential. And also, we continue to work on the Phase 2 flowage easement valuation study, and that is scheduled to be completed in late 2021, and I understand that there'll be some updates on Phase 1 as well. The key focus areas at this point will be onboarding Ms. Smith, strategies for purchasing those flowage easement has been discussed, and the challenges that we have with replacement housing and relocation benefits. We have around 70 rural residential properties that we are finding a real challenge to help them just acquire any kind of replacement housing and in buildings and whatnot that they have. The market has made it very difficult at this point, but we continue to work through that. And then the crop insurance, which we don't need to have in place for quite some time, but it's important, I think, puts everybody at ease if we can get that policy put in place sooner rather than later. And so there will be a focus group meeting in late November. And that concludes my report. Kevin, you have something, Commissioner Campbell, for the Minnesota side?
I do, thank you. The MCC JPA did meet today, and we did receive our monthly property acquisition status report. We did approve a relocation appeal policy and procedure. We had a brief discussion regarding a solar panel garden that will be on the dry side of the levee on the Minnesota side that had been approved by the Clay County Planning Commission this week. We learned that the lands needed for the Red River Control Structure have now been acquired. We did approve 4 organic farmland appraisals today. And we did also agree to a settlement offer on a particular parcel, negotiated settlement between a landowner and our agents. We also approved task order number 1, amendment number 2 with Pfeiffer's. And also we entered into a farmland lease template for the 2022 season. That concludes my report.
And then I don't know if Roger is on the call, or Dan, or anyone from the joint board.
Do you know, Mr. Paulson, I don't believe that Mr. Olson is on the line.
I'll attempt to pinch hit for him. So I attended the Cass County Joint Resources Board meeting this morning. There was an executive session for a number of properties. We did come out of executive session and approve the purchase of 4 of those properties. So, and most of those were contained in that area south of Horace. So those were difficult negotiations, but we did, the Cass Joint Board was successful in some of those, and so they continue to move forward with the ones that they weren't, to continue to negotiate and try to get those completed prior to any sort of court action occurring. That was about it. There was a few contracting actions similar to the MCC JPA as far as appraisal services were concerned, but nothing too monumental other than that. So,
All right, thank you. Thank you, Commissioner Sherling and Commissioner Campbell and Executive Director Paulson. Was somebody else, was Mr. Dodd's going to do a property acquisition status report, or is the reports from?
I think you have that in your packet, and it's just the usual monthly report, and you can see that the colors are changing each month, so.
All right, thank you. All right, moving on to number 9, finance update, and I will turn it over to Mayor Dardis.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Yesterday, the Finance Committee, we did meet. We were presented with the 2022 cash budget final draft at $194,839,090. That is the final draft. It is in the packet. That will be probably brought forth next month for final approval. In addition to that, the contracting items that are on the agenda, as well as the MOU agreements and things that Mr. Shockley talked briefly about, they were all gone through on a line item review, and that is why that was in front of you today. Mr. Costin reported that the bills for the month were $4,777,676, and we have a balance of $100,774,695. If there's any questions, I'd stand for them. That ends my report.
Thank you, Mayor Dardis. Are there any questions? Okay, seeing none, I will move on to other business and the 2022 cash budget final draft. Mr. Paulson?
sorry, I thought Bernie covered this for me. We don't need to take much time, but this is the draft that Bernie was referring to that was gone through at Finance. As you can see, we have two columns on the right-hand side there. The first column was the first draft budget that was presented to the board 2 months ago. Since that time, we've been working diligently with Finance Chair Dardis, as well as Vice Chair Steen to go through, and most of the increases between the two columns to get us to the final draft budget were a result of timing of elements. Some of those things didn't occur in 21, and so we're moving those costs over into 22. And then some of those cost increases are a result of additional things that became clear that they were going to be accomplished in 22 versus in the later years. So no worries as far as spending contingencies on these. These were all program budget overall related items. It was just some movement in the timing of when those expenditures were expected to occur. And so we've done our best estimate to kind of determine the cash budget for next year and the expenditures for next year. So certainly willing to take any questions if any of the board has it, but as Mayor Dardis had alluded, we will bring the final budget before the board next month. So.
Thank you, Mr. Paulson. Any further questions? All right, seeing none, moving on to number 11, executive session. Do I have a motion to move into executive sessions?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, we are now in executive session.
Second.
All right, we are adjourned. It is November 18th at 4:35 PM.
All right.
Thank you.